Hi, this is Tactical Reserves. I'm Briggs.
I'm Zach.
I'm Troy.
I'm Amble.
And I'm Chad.
And this week we're going to be going over our typical hobbying, the games we played, our Q&A, and then the topics of the week, which we're going to be focusing on hordes, the importance of transports, and the new Marines with the 2 wound rules. That's kind of going to be the meat and potatoes of it. And then, of course, we'll go over our questions for next week after that. So we might as well just go ahead and start it with this week in hobbying. Zach, not a lot of hobbying, right?
No, pretty much took a week off. Had a lot of real life things going on.
Troy, been rocking some No Man's Sky, building space stations.
I have been. I also started basing my Death Guard. They're basically painted, so I figured I'd get it out of the way. I've been putting it off. So.
How's that going?
It's going good. And mostly just letting the glue dry most of the time.
Yeah, I can see that. How about you, Anvil?
I bought a Questorus Knight, so I got it put together, got it primed, got the exoskeleton in gunmetal and null oil done, and then I painted the armor plates gold, and that's about as far. And then I guess last night I spent about an hour painting the lenses on its eyes so that I could cover it up with a mask. So
Efficient.
yeah, that's the way they're made. So whatever, but it was there, so I painted it. I got that done. I've put together 2 squads of eradicators, and I put together a Death Watch chaplain and got it primed.
Awesome. Busy week.
And Games Workshop confirmed they shipped my 15 aggressors, so pretty close to getting my Death Watch list together.
Anvil is now part of the problem.
Yeah.
I've always been part of the problem, so.
He's going to play it and lose and be like, it's garbage. It's obviously the army.
Obviously garbage.
To the dumpster, add it.
No, it's
That
got.
dumpster's going to be pretty full.
Yeah. Just let me know where that dumpster is, please.
They're durable. I can throw them.
Yeah. How about you, Chad?
I golded up some regular intercessors. I got the Blood of the Blood God for the swords and the assault intercessors. I picked up the metal and the tin snips and the really useful boxes and 2 packs of the rare earth magnets. I need like 150 more to magnetize all the bases. The first ones I got weren't deep enough, so I can't match them up with the exact bottom of the base. It's turning into a bigger project than I wanted, but once it's done altogether, it'll be way better for transport. And I've been looking for drop pods, but they're expensive online. Even though they're only like $40, I'd rather find some used ones, but all the ones on eBay I keep getting outbid, so I'm just gonna keep trying that until I find one. If anybody has a trade, let me know.
There you go. I built most of a Phoenix this week, and then I played marbles on stream. So I did not hobby a lot. I was pretty distracted Monday night. We had a super long stream, and I was just burnt out. So
I am the marbles champion.
oh, you got wrecked. You got absolutely wrecked for like 5K bucks.
Alright.
So
Sounds like
yeah.
not the champion.
Not the champion. Confirmed, not the champion. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and go into games played this week. I want to do Zach and I's game last. So who wants to go first?
Amble and I played this week. Who else played this week?
And Zach played.
You and Zach played.
Yep. You played against Greater Demons. And...
Oh, yeah.
Did anybody play Roscoe?
Nope.
Nope, not this week.
Not this week?
Zach and Troy,
Okay.
you guys can go
I think they're
first.
actually doing a game now.
Yeah, they're currently playing a game.
Yeah,
as
Orcs versus Tau.
yeah, as we record.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's got his Knight Stomper thing looking. It looks sweet.
It does. It does look good. Anyway, let's start with that game then. Demons versus Marines?
Custodes.
Was it Custodes?
Yeah.
Yes.
How'd it go? Who won?
Zach boots me.
I did. I won pretty handily, but I decided pretty early on he was playing a bunch of greater demons, 3 keepers of secrets, a couple Lord of Changes. So I decided the only way I was going to win that game was to castle up super hard and make him come to me so I can heroically intervene and attack with my entire army into things. And I unleashed the lions on my first turn, so smites wouldn't carry over on my Terminators and stuff, and any attacks that go into him, he can't just kill a whole squad of Terminators. If I fail a few saves, he can only kill one at a time.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. And then, I rolled like 85% on 4-ups. on the first turn.
Yeah.
God damn.
So
He did
got-
mention this.
I got like 2 keepers in, I think, to the bikes.
Yeah.
And I didn't kill one.
no, it was
That is
Wow.
insane.
Yeah, it was.
Christ.
pretty rough.
I
'Cause
did
I
play
just-
around the roll clearing ravine though. I didn't get caught by that.
No,
But it
Spoilers,
didn't
I
matter.
got caught by that.
Doesn't matter if you play around the tricks. If he just makes all the saves and just
yeah.
you got
I mean, it's really hard to beat custodians when you roll that hot. Like,
Yeah, it was so bad that after the game, like the next, or it might have been later that evening, or the next day, Zach texted me and was like, "I forgot to put my Telemon Dread on the table,
he left
but I don't want to tell Troy
left
because he'd be
200 points
pissed."
Oh God.
So
you
Zach
left it
played
in
like
deep strike?
Zach played like 7. No, he just didn't forgot to put it on the table.
yeah, I forgot it was in the list.
So
You just left it on the shelf.
so Zach
That's how impactful the Telemon's been lately, because I didn't even field it. Like,
so Zach won with about a 17 or 50 point army
yeah.
Oh God.
against Troy, and it was not close. So he was like, "I don't want to tell Troy because he's already bad. It got boosted."
That's insane.
That's
It was rough.
crazy.
It was a really good. My plan worked out exactly like I thought it would. I don't know if there's any counterplay to it, but I assumed that the keepers are going to come at me, and they came right for me, and I managed to make all my saves on the first turn, and then just
From there it was
Destroy
over.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you don't lose stuff on the first turn right there, it's
yeah.
you can smack back pretty hard.
Yeah, he took a few mortal wounds, but nothing.
I think he actually killed one keeper before it got there, right, with the bikes, and then.
Well, I tangle-footed you the first time, right?
Yeah, you Tanglefoot, you rolled a 6. That was real
Yeah,
bad.
so Troy had like a 14-inch charge after the -6 or whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
So that was.
So I rolled a 6 on the tanglefoot, so he couldn't get in on the first turn.
What does that do?
It reduces your
moves.
your charge or move.
Yeah.
And move or charge
By
by
D6.
By D6 inches.
You roll a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 7-inch charge
I've
is actually
played it twice.
unmakeable.
Yes. I've only remembered to use it twice, and I've rolled a 1 and a 6, so we're on.
The first time it was 1, he was like, "Well, that wasn't worth the CP."
Math is checked out.
The trick is you can only do it with infantry.
Yes.
So a lot of the heavy bike lists from before you wouldn't see it.
Yeah,
But-
that's crazy.
But yeah,
With
so
the
if
Terminators.
something's if you like charge something, they try to get away, you just Tanglefoot them, and they can't
Yeah.
they can't
You
get
might
away.
be able to make him not fall out of combat entirely.
Because there was I couldn't get to him the first turn. There was the second turn. He melted or salvo launched it all into one keeper and took it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got into the bikes with 2 keepers. Didn't kill any, but I did take the salvo launchers out, so I think they were around for another turn or 2, but they just didn't get 3 keepers didn't get 100 points dead. So it was
Could
just,
you have
That's
done
insane.
anything differently?
yeah, I mean obviously things could have done different. But that army kind of has, at least with the keepers, it's like one strategy. And then you use the Lord of Changes and the Great and Clean one to kind of,
Clean up stuff.
yeah, but I gotta kill something.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I decided I was going to give away the 15 points early or 30 points early in primaries and let them have all the objectives until I could safely move out. Like I just wrote it off. I was going to lose in primaries and just try to win in secondaries.
And there's no good secondaries against Zach.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, there aren't.
That has
Can
been
confirm.
established.
I
yes.
took mental interrogation just to try and get it because it was, doable and I have a fair amount of psychic powers, but he countered it every turn.
Yeah.
For like 4 turns.
That's crazy.
My 50% was way above 50%.
It was 100% against me too.
well,
so.
it's currently at 100%.
I think it is
Yeah.
currently at 100%.
It's been pretty good.
Custodes are strong.
Pay a CP, deny the witch.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy.
I think the first turn I got Super Smite and you countered it because I wasn't in range for the mental interrogation.
Yes.
And every turn after that, he just countered the mental interrogation, which sucks. I knew he could do it, and I didn't really want to take it. But there's just when you look at Zach's list, there's just if you can't pull off actions, which my list doesn't have that much infantry, so it can't really try and pull that. It's just there aren't very many secondaries available against that list, which is why it's really strong.
So if you do mental interrogation, can you do other spells?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think you can, but that's just because I think in
Is
the
that the
rules-
one that's worded really?
No, but if you look at psychic actions in the rule book, it says instead of manifesting psychic abilities, you do the action.
Does it say abilities or a psychic ability?
Yeah, because I take it as one of your casts.
Yeah, if it's a cast, I'm just curious because
I
that
don't
would
know.
impact the way Thousand Suns are played as well. So
Yes.
I generally would not take it, but
You didn't have a lot of good
it's
options.
not a good option. Maybe I should have gone for the other one and tried to do it in the middle, since you were not going to the middle.
I would have eventually had to. I was just trying to weather the first storm of the keepers.
Yeah.
They don't do anything if you don't get them into combat. And I have 6 melt-a-gun shots. Like, I can kill a keeper a turn, so he has to come in and try to deal with the bikes.
Yeah,
Or I
no,
just
that's
shoot 'em.
crazy. It's a solid list, so
The keepers are glass cannons. They get in, and they only got 5 of them vulnerable, 6 up saves. So you got to get them in to take away gunfire, otherwise you just go down.
Well, right on. All right, well, how about Troy or Chad and Anvil?
We played.
Let's hear about that game.
We played Ultramarines versus AdMech round 3. Anvil won.
And we'll try a very different list this time, though.
Yes, it was very different. Anvil won. It was a close game. He only won by 7, I think was the final count.
So what were your lists before you get too into the game?
I had 2 captains. One was a chapter master, a lieutenant, a squad of 5 inceptors, 2 bike squads of the outriders, 2 outrider squads, 2 assault intercessor squads, a regular intercessor squad, Bobby G, 3 eradicator squads.
And I played Mars. I played 2 Tech Priest Dominus. Well, I played a battalion or I played a patrol and a spearhead. So I played 2 Tech Priest Dominus and a Daedalosus. And then 3 squads of vanguards, full squads, 10 man, with 3 plasmas each. And then I put them all in Dune Riders. And then I played a 4th Dune Rider with Electro Priest in it. And then I had 4 Dune Crawlers with Icarus Arrays and 4 of the Scorpius Disintegrators with the... Or 3, sorry. 3 of each. I was thinking that I had 4 transports. So yeah, 3 of the Dune Crawlers with Icarus Arrays and 3 of the Disintegrators with the Belarus Cannon, the
mortar mode?
And 1 squad of... I think I had enough for 1 squad of Raiders.
Okay. So how'd the mobility feel in that game?
Well, in this game, the idea of this was everything's in transports. There's no like troops floating around to just get picked off. So I sat back. I believe Chad went first.
I went first.
So my whole plan was let Chad sit back, kind of use some, because I don't have anything that hits super hard all at once. Like, I used to have like the Icarus, the lasers that like could just kill a vehicle in 1 turn. I don't really have that, like one model that can but I have Withering Fire. So it's like, my plan is I'm going to try to get rid of the Eradicators because I'm playing a ton of vehicles. So obviously I don't want Eradicators melting my vehicles.
Definitely his most valuable unit versus you.
Yeah, so it's like, I definitely want to take the Eradicators down, and I'm going to try to keep the primaries at parity as best I can. Just try to take him off of points. Well, Chad went first, moved forward, and he moved like his outriders up onto we had 4 objectives, and he moved up onto there with the outriders, and he just let me. I got a chance to shoot him off the objectives, so I got to stay at parity in primaries, and I didn't really give up a whole lot in the secondaries. I think he killed a transport, here or there, but he was, I still had my secondaries that I could achieve, and he hadn't. I was still staying on parity in primaries. By turn 3, by turn 2, I killed his Eradicators. I'd killed most of the Outriders, and I was working on just intercessor squads and characters at that point. That's pretty much what Chad had floating around that was left. So then I could move forward and take an objective and try to get points here and there. So I took the mission secondary was you got 2 points for the ones in the middle and 3 points if you held your opponent's, the one in his. So I got 2 points almost every turn. At least I got to 1 objective and held it for my turn.
Yeah.
I may not have held it for very long, but I got those 2 points. Even if it was just vanguards out there that got taken off, or I could jump my vanguards out and run the transport up to get on it. But the transports basically sponged a ton of damage because Chad went hard after the transports.
Yeah, that's the only thing to shoot at in that match right there.
Well, what I did was I didn't put the bikes up. The bikes didn't come into the objective until turn 2 because I wanted to keep them back a little bit because they had 30-inch range on their guns. And he took engage on all fronts, and we had the Dawn of War set up. So
Hammer and Anvil.
Hammer and Anvil, yeah, he had to come to me take an engage. Well, he didn't score any points in engage until turn 4.
3.
He scored 2 on turn 3.
Yeah.
So I was feeling happy because I had while we stand we fight, and I maxed bring it down
Yeah, bring it down.
bring it down easy because everything's a vehicle in his army.
Yeah, I just know that's one of the things my army's you're gonna get 15 and bring it down.
But I took repair teleport Homer with one of my captains, and I used the grab bomb wrong because I didn't bring it in on the first turn. Didn't bring it down until turn 2. It did delete something, but it would have definitely changed the game if I brought it in on the first turn, which I've been scolded for a week about. So don't at me. Yeah. I understand. I screwed that up bad.
Spoilers, that's what happens when you build a list from the internet that you don't know how to play.
Well, we told him, I think, he came back and started looking at my back line, and I've obviously screened him before.
I could not get into his back line at all.
He was just like looking to drop it behind me on turn 1. I was like, well, you definitely are not getting it behind me. So he just chose not to drop it.
And then turn 2, I dropped it in the middle and deleted whatever's on the objective. I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I kept him off the objectives. He couldn't... Always stand, I was fine. I was at 15 till turn 5, till the last turn of the game. My 3 characters that were the most points were alive. I was winning in secondaries. We were staying parity in primaries. And that was where I really lost the game. Because I scored 5, he scored 5. I scored 5, he scored 5. I scored 10, he scored 10. And in the last turn, I moved off an objective because I was running out of units and I was trying to keep him off of the objective so he wouldn't get it. And he just went up the other side and then rolled good for an advance and moved the transport, and then he got 15 in primaries last turn, but it was fine because I was still winning, but then he killed my captain in the back, which only got 10 from repair teleport Homer because it doesn't score on the last turn, and killed Bobby G twice.
Hey, at least he stood back.
He got up with a 6, and he then promptly died again.
Because there wasn't...
Because there was nothing else left. I only had... He whittled away the intercessor so he could be shot at.
No, Bobby G was...
Bobby G was in the middle,
It was your captain, your chapter master captain.
If I would have took thin the ranks instead of while we stand we fight, I won that game. But
yeah, but that doesn't sound like the right thing
we don't
to
know
take in that
We
matchup.
didn't finish my turn where I could still shoot your captain out. But I mean, it would have been a lot closer game. But like I said, Chad waited back, and his plan was to let me come to him because he's like, I'm just going to rush forward to engage. And I was like, I got time. Like, the whole beginning of 9th edition, I've been trying to just get objectives. And I was like, I'm just going to take my time. And, you watch Zach play when he plays Custodes, and he's like, whatever, I'm getting 5 points. And, I'm going to be a few behind, but the last few turns, I'm going to score points. And I was like, you know what? That's going to be my strategy here. And that's what I worked on. I was like, I'm just good. And just like his eradicators were deployed behind the train. They moved forward. They got a few shots off, but just my mortar boats, I was able to put enough fire on them.
Yeah, the I don't need line of sight to shoot your stuff. I should have.
It's hard to deal with.
I should have prioritized those more in hindsight, but
did you have them in cover?
I did, but
yeah, he moved them behind the obscuring train, but
I was saying they got a cover save at least.
Well, no, because they were behind it.
They're behind it.
Because if they're in it, they would have got it. So
it still
gets shot by everything.
They get shot by everything. So
it still didn't matter. He had too many. He has a lot more. I'm good at shooting. Like Space Marines are the armor's good at everything, so I'm good at shooting. But he's way better at shooting than I am.
I just think I had more shots that game.
He did.
It's not that I was way better. It's just like I was winning the Eradicators on 3. It's only -1, so they still got 4 ups, but they're 2 damage each.
That's why non-line of sight fire is insane because you can just pick the thing that's annoying and shoot it all game.
I was doing what I was in my head. I'm like, kept looking at the scoreboard, doing points in my head. I'm like, I'm winning. Like he's coming up a little bit, but I'm still keeping him off the objectives. He's not going to get anything from engage. He might get like 5 total, still winning. And then I scored 0 in the primary, and he scored 15 last turn, and that.
I think I ended up getting 8 in engage.
7.
I got 7. Yeah. But I was like, if I can get 7 to 8 in engage, that's solid. And I because I was just looking at it, and we only had 4 objectives. I would have went with domination, like we talked about before, but there were only 4 objectives. So holding 3, I felt was probably not going to happen. So I was like, and I still feel that all the actions are a trap. So I was like, I'm staying away from all those. So that just kind of limited my options. I was like, well, I'll engage. I've got all these transports. I'm not going to do it maybe turn 1 or 2, but eventually I'll get back there.
I got 10 out of repair teleport Homer, but as Zach and
that's good though.
But as Zach and I discussed, the guy that was getting it was also one of the guys I needed to keep alive for while we stand we fight, and he's back there just by himself with his 3-up save, taking
So you really only got 5
everything.
out of it.
So I really, because he
Yeah,
died,
he gave
I
away
lost.
5.
I gave away
Yeah.
5, and then
Because he took two secondaries that were odds with each other. His plan was to put his lieutenant or his captain in my deployment zone to deploy, but by himself. So it's like you're putting him at risk. So
he lived the whole game till the very last turn, and he got 10 out of it. But then he lost me 5, so he really only got me 5 out of it.
yeah, so he negated some of that, but it felt all right. But I think just the biggest mistake Chad made was assessing his role.
I did not know I was the beat down again.
Yeah, so he should have, he should have dropped his devastators in, blown up a mortar tank. Now that you know the mortar,
Yeah, you
you
can't.
could have just deleted one.
You guys can't see, but Zach, shaking his head, giving me the shoulder shrug. He's been through this with me 100. I'm the newest one, but like he can only beat it in my head so many times.
Well, I mean,
before
that's what I've been
realize.
working on. I've been trying to be. AdMech was really passive before 9th edition. I was just trying to be more aggressive with it, and it's not working. And you're just not durable enough to be that aggressive. You just got to kind of sit back, whittle them down to where they're a little weaker than you. Then you can go out and get your objective. So, yeah, I think if Chad drops his drop pod on the objective, in the middle,
and just deletes or something.
just deletes a mortar boat because I don't get saves, and he gets to re-roll all wounds and damage rolls. So he's just going to
and
smoke one.
reload a gun. Shoot that one.
Shoot that one twice if he wants to. So he just gets to delete one, and that means that my ability to deal with his eradicators and other things are a little more limited. So I think it makes the game a lot different. Also, I got to blow up a drop pod to get on an objective.
Because it's
So-
just sitting on it.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. We'll talk about that more later, though.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and go on to the game Zach and I played this week. I finally played the Thousand Suns versus Custodes match. My list, I played a big blob of rubrics, a 10-man blob of rubrics, Helldrake, Ariman, an Exalted Sorcerer, and then I played an Alpha Legion detachment with a 10-man squad of Chaos Marines, Demon Prince, and 3 Obliterators. And that's the whole list. So that was what I played. Oh, and 10 Scarab Occult Terminators from Thousand Suns. That was the other unit. What'd you play, Zach?
I played basically the same list I've been playing. It's Trajan, a shield captain on a bike, 2 squads of guardians with spears and shields, a squad of 5 Terminators, a squad of 3 Terminators, a squad of 5 bikes, all with salvo launchers, and a Telemann Dread with double guns, double autocannon guns, whatever those are.
Did the Telemon Dread make it to the table?
It was on the table this
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
2 guns.
So short version is I did lose, but I made a lot of mistakes. So I went first, and I basically I don't know why I thought the AP2 on all of my weapons and Veterans of the Long War was going to carry me a lot more than it did.
Well, but it is like you are at the perfect AP range for Custodes.
Except
Yeah.
for his Terminator.
Except
for the
for
Terminators.
except which the Terminators are where the Terminators beat me. I lost that game to 5 Terminators.
Man.
Well, they're super. They're just
No, but that's essentially what happened because the first turn I killed 3 of his guys with spears or whatever they were.
Yeah,
Guardians.
3 of the Guardians.
But I parked, so I just played way too aggressive. So also I forgot about the heroic intervention rule, which it gave his Terminators an extra 6 inches of movement. But so first turn I go first. I get to do some redeploy shenanigans, and I essentially parked my Obliterators, and I'm like, all right, I can kill those 3. And I went ahead and moved my Helldrake over just in case I couldn't kill the 3 guys with the Obliterators because they're Custodes, and to back up with the damage. Well, they super died, and the Helldrake really didn't do anything, and it ended up dying because of that, which was one of my while we stand, we fight.
Yep.
So that was a mistake. I also flew my Demon Prince up and tried to fight the Telemann Dread. Another While We Stand We Fight, and a Psyker, and he took a Bore of the Witch. That was a mistake. I jumped my Rubric squad to touching a building so that I could shoot his Terminators on the first turn in rapid fire range. But he just ignored AP 1 and 2, which was really bad. So they didn't do a single wound. And then he murdered them all, except for one, which I proceeded to walk back toward my line, which allowed him to heroically intervene on my turn and get free 6 inches of movement. And that was basically the game. Like, I built a circle to protect my HQs, and then I didn't put him in the circle because I was trying to do other things with him. And then he was able to touch him because of the heroic intervention. So it was a long series of mistakes, but at the end of the game, I had killed all of his Terminators but one. I killed all of his bikes. I killed his shield captain. He had Trajan, a unit of 3 Terminators, right? And then a unit of the 3 other guys, and your Telemann.
Yep.
And it was with me, like, I feel like I threw the Helldrake away, I threw the Demon Prince away, I threw both HQs away, and I threw my big blob of Rubrics away with no game effectiveness. And it was still... What?
You killed all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? Did it matter at all?
I mean, it would have...
Scoreboard-wise, I mean...
No, scoreboard... No, I lost... Like, I could have made the game closer over the next couple of turns, but it was not possible to catch up with him, for sure.
Because he's, like Zach was going to march his Telemann onto an objective.
So we were going to be at parity.
Yeah, Aaron's never digging him off.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the
That's what I'm
firepower
saying,
to dig a Telemann out of him.
After, like, turn 2, could you have, like, caught up?
If I didn't throw away 4 units.
It's
In 5, 10,
Well,
like,
it's
in 3 turns.
It's still
you
tough
know?
though because his characters were worth 8 points apiece.
Correct.
Well, actually,
More than
13
13
if you
points
think about
apiece because, you know, he's losing.
the while we stand and fight.
Yeah.
So getting those touched is a huge just swing on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
Not-
I
not,
thought...
not just on the battlefield, on the scoreboard.
So what my thought is I was going to tie the Telemann Dread up, and I would be okay. But it can shoot in melee, and it can still melee really well, and it's still tough as shit. So, like...
It doesn't melee super well.
Unless it has a fist.
It hits on 2s, and it wounds on 3s, almost everything. But it has no AP.
Yeah,
it's
just-
only 1 damage, so it's not like...
But it can swing back, and it's gonna just make me roll dice.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna
Demon
have
Princes
to roll
aren't good at rolling saves like the...
And it has no blast weapons, so it just gets to shoot the
Yeah,
next
it just gets to shoot all its stuff.
Yeah.
Hitting on 3s, like woo.
Yeah.
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 It doesn't care about being tied up in melee.
And,
It
you
did
know,
that too.
isn't
It was like...
gonna-
and
It's also not going to die because it's, you know,
Yeah.
gigantic.
And that's what I'm saying. Zach are taking out most of Aaron's big threats. So he has
Because-
stuff, but it's nothing that can threaten the Telemann in a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we stopped at the end of I think it was my turn 3. Zach hadn't even gone yet. But I killed enough, and we basically ran the numbers, and we were like 3 hours in at this point on turn 3. Because I was trying to, first off, make the right moves, and it was just like, I wasn't. I made a lot of bad moves. The short version is, I don't know, what was your perspective of the game, Zach?
I mean, you put the Rubric Marines right in front of my Terminators turn 1, and from that point on, I knew I was going to be okay, because that basically gets to slingshot me 12 inches. Because I get to move, kill that unit, or charge that unit, and kill that unit in 1 turn. Like that one dude that survived shouldn't have survived. Like, he
because
should have
he
died.
Well, it was really kind of irrelevant because Zach was like Aaron's talking about the mistake he made was he didn't fall him back far enough. But even if he does, Zach just gets to move.
No. I fell him back the wrong way. I should have just fallen back towards Zach's other stuff.
Like, that guy was irrelevant. He was 1 wound.
He was 1 wound, 1
Right.
dude.
So you just take him away from your army so he doesn't bring more with him.
Yeah. That was what I was saying.
What really should have happened after he made that was I should have Tanglefoot him when he went to fall back, and he might not have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Or I might have been able to heroically intervene with a CP. Still, like you made a mistake, but I made a mistake too, so I'm willing to wash that one out. Putting those Marines there in the first place was the biggest mistake.
Yeah, it's hard. You look at Zach's list and you're like, well, the bikes are going to be a problem, and the Terminators are just a big death squad. And with Zach being able to -1 strength, ignore all rerolls against that unit, and ignore AP and transhuman right? You can do all that.
Yeah, you can.
He can basically make that like you do not want to shoot that unit.
Is it the best unit in Warhammer?
Well, I mean, it's probably the most durable unit, but that doesn't mean it's the best.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's like
It's
Zach.
a very solid unit.
But
Yeah, it's probably like top 5 in 9th edition.
but if you set up one turn to try to shoot that unit, Zach can make it very unprofitable to shoot.
Yeah,
that
I
unit.
mean, take
So
away
it's-
the AP.
So it's like
gross.
you put yourself in striking range to try to shoot at it, and it's just not profitable to shoot at it.
Bringing the Demon Prince up was not a good idea.
No.
Especially since it was one of your...
I think the other
While we
stuff.
While we
stand
stand, we
by
I
fight.
think that was the most egregious one. The other stuff was just learning movement and everything, and like not even that. Just the fallback was like you said. But the Demon Prince was a really bad mistake. Everything else, I think you played fine.
Have you? Do you think it could be like because you don't have a lot of reps with thousands?
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% that. Like,
I have way more reps with Custodians than he does Thousands. Everybody wants to keep playing against Custodians, so
Well,
I'm getting
I mean,
a lot of reps in.
when we could
Everybody else
go-
getting practice.
When we could go back to a tournament, Zach's going to have so many, every custode stratagem and everything memorized. He's just going to walk through the field. But,
You know, it's... The Terminators are really good. You have to either keep them out of your own lines or kill them, and killing them's not super easy.
no, I mean, I agree. I think, so if I were to redo that game, I would just leave my units back. Because what I realized is, like, I gave you 300 points in Marines
Mhm.
for nothing. And my
Basically,
obliterators,
time walked me, like, gave
Yeah.
me free movement. Like, it was...
it was a bad play.
gross.
when you put them there, I was like, that's not a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
That was definitely a game-changing moment.
So, and the obliterators line up fantastic against him. He can't -1 strength them to reduce their wound capability because they're strength 7 at their worst. So if he drops them to 6, they still wound on 3s, and I can still veterans them to 2s. I just need to roll AP3. I roll AP3, he can't ignore AP1 and 2 with them. So he's on 4-ups with the whole mob, and it's 32 shots, right? No, 36 shots, because they're 18 shots. 36 shots.
Well, what you could just transhuman them though. You only win on 4.
Then you only win.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. Like, that's still a 50% wound conversion rate.
It also costs twice as many CPs.
Yeah,
Like the -1/2 AP is only 1 CP. That's what makes that so good.
It's really good. It's really good right now.
One thing we didn't mention was this the first game we played Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
You didn't have the stratagem to reroll the Iron Warrior stratagem, right?
Yeah, but
So would you, after doing that, which one would you prefer?
still Alpha Legion.
Still Alpha
Conceal, I can guarantee keep my obliterators alive for multiple turns. Like, I get 2 turns of rolling versus a reroll. So 100% in on Alpha Legion. -1 to hit at 12 inches is crazy. You having to declare your deep strike, and then I say you can't deep strike within 12 inches of this unit after you've declared to deep strike a unit. That can really mess up stuff, especially if you're trying to get in a corner and it all of a sudden cuts that whole corner out of the table because it's close to an edge. The forward operatives, if I need the advanced movement, which I don't want it versus his army, obviously, but versus some armies, like free 9 inches on obliterators means they cover the whole table. So I think Alpha Legion, like Iron Warriors, has that stratagem, I guess. That's the only one. They have one that can reduce AP, but obliterators have good saves, and I'd rather bank on having them shot at. You know what I mean? And there's Slanesh, so I can. Well, they've already got an invuln, so they're good. Like, I'm all in on Alpha Legion for now. Just because their entire, like, codex, or their entire Psychic Awakening is bananas for what I'm trying to achieve. So I liked that. And I do think what I had lined up well. Like, I feel like I killed a lot of Custodes. Zach said it's the most models he's picked up.
Yeah, in a long time.
And I think if I replayed the game, I've been talking with another person, Vrosco, about this. And I've been talking to these guys about, like, Nurglings. What it sucks about what I'm playing right now is I have to put a very expensive unit on objectives, which means I have to put it out there in a non-strategic area and just take fire. So what I want to try is like a 3 detachment list, like triple patrol, and test with Nurglings, and just use my Nurglings as they're going to sit on objectives. they're going to take whatever firepower they have to spend to clear them. But instead of playing a 10-man squad of rubrics and a 20 or 18, I'm just going to play one big blob of rubrics, use all those extra points for the other detachment, and do a smaller Space Marine squad as well. Because the Space Marines without invulns, like having to spend CP to protect them, and honestly running 10 just lets blast be better than it needs to be, and causes you to have to put them in weird positioning, like dropping down to 5 of those guys, converting all that into Nurgling stuff, I think does have legs. And then I can jump or Sorceress Facade the several units, but the rubrics back to the back of the board, and I can try to repair teleport Homer with those guys or with that unit if it's at the back of the board and my opponents move forward. Sure, like I'm not shooting for the turn, but if they're not back there, it doesn't matter. And if they come back there, I can just shoot instead. So I'm hoping being able to not have to put 300 points on objectives will be better. And Psychic Powers versus Custodes aren't good because he can say no to the one he wants to say no to. It feels like it was 100% against me. So
Custodes are strong.
They're strong. I do think it's a winnable match. I feel like the match would have. I feel like I lost that match with the list I built, even if I played better.
You, ever since we've played 40K, have been a turn 1 Alpha Strike, and it doesn't work against Custodes.
It doesn't.
You tried to turn 1 blow the most durable army in the game off the table, and it didn't work. And then
Now what?
you're exposed because you tried to, if you put your rubrics out there and left them exposed to Terminators, and you didn't get any. You got overly aggressive against the most durable army. I think if you sit back and plan like, okay, I'll let these guys move forward to here, and then I'll get them in a cone of fire, and I'll get them here or there, or I'll pick some wounds here, and then try to pick them up the next turn, and just try to wait him out. Your army stays alive a little longer, that's what it's about. It's
like Troy's told me with playing Zach a few times. Like, Zach's got to come to you. Custodes are coming to you. Like,
they're not going backwards.
They're not going backwards. They're coming to you. They're going one way, and that's forward. So that means they have to move forward, or
that's. I'm actually looking at changing my list, removing a squad of Guardians to go up to a total of 10 Terminators. I haven't decided how I'm going to break them up yet. And then I'm going to get rid of Trajan and play another Shield Captain on a bike. Because I think the way you beat Custodes is once you get them to commit going forward with their Terminators, you just come in behind them and you start repairing Teleport Homer, or you knock me off my home objective. Like, every game I have like 3 Guardians and Trajan maybe standing on my home objective. Terminators are not that fast, so if you make me have to double back to try to clean my own stuff up, that could be super problematic, but nobody's doing it yet. But somebody's going to do it eventually. And I think having another bike that can move 20 inches late game and is objective secured, so I can just go and steal a point even if I can't clean everything off of it.
Yeah.
Like, if you park a transport there, I can just run my bike over there, take it. Doesn't matter if I kill the transport or not. So I think having another bike captain flying around will be... Trajan's really good at giving you a free stratagem, though, and I really enjoy that.
And he's pretty durable.
Yeah, he's...
And if it's not something super killy, he's probably going to fight it off.
Well, I will say what he's talking... I agree with Zach's concepts on the list 100%.
Oh, yeah, it's...
I don't know, he's fought Bloodletters, and they're pretty killy, and he just killed them all in like 2 turns.
Yeah,
I think Trajan holds his own, but eventually I'm going to fail some 3-up saves, and somebody's going to take that point from me.
Like, he went
just having him back there by standing on the objective, it's not doing a whole lot. I'm not getting any rerolls out of him. It's like 190 points just to stand on an objective.
I mean, him and the captain went toe-to-toe with Bobby G, a squad of bikes and a squad of assault intercessors. Just like, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Trajan's a beast, but I don't think the drop-off... I don't think there's a huge drop-off to a bike. And the extra movement seems...
He's cheaper than a Telemann.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm also going to put a fist on the Telemann because I'm going to start... Yeah, 1-1, and I'm going to start running him up to stand on objectives because I just don't have enough models to as mobile as I want to be. Like the Terminators walk forward and they kill whatever they can get into. But if there's like 6 objectives, those are the games that custodians really have a problem with. So I've not lost games yet, but I feel like I'm going to start losing games the more games I play. And I'm just trying to plug holes, fix cracks before they get real big.
Or you're just going to keep tweaking and just ranch the whole group all the way through 9th edition.
I mean, you guys are going to figure out how to beat it eventually, so.
Well, the rules are going to change too, so.
Yeah.
Well,
We both tried to crash a bunch of chaos into it, and that didn't work.
yeah,
But
I definitely think, like I said, where it's at is right. Because, like, on turn 2, that was my plan, was to take away your mobility. I was like, I've got the jumping all over the board. I've got a dark matter crystal. I can do all kinds of crazy shit. And I killed all the bikes. Like, on turn 2, I killed 5 bikes with just my obliterators. 4 bikes. No, because you had 1 bike left, right? And then your captain?
Yeah, so there's only a squad of 5. So
Oh, okay. I killed 4 bikes.
And then the other bike ran over there and punched your tone, or your prince.
It did do that.
He did punch him. He poked him with a sharp stick.
So, yeah, that did happen.
But
And
I would like to talk about, you talked about your new list with Nurglings. How do you feel about the concept that, like, heavy bolters are going to go to 2 damage? If they get, and a lot of armies are going to have it that aren't Space Marines have heavy bolters running around. It makes Nurglings less durable.
I mean, it does make them less
Because
durable.
they don't get feel no pain. So how do you feel? Do you still feel?
I feel like my opponents are shooting heavy bolters and Nurglings. So I'm okay with that.
Well, maybe if they're cleaning you off objectives, because that's what you have on an objective, those are victory points.
But those are not being shot at my Space Marines either. And they would be Space Marines, and they would obliterate Space Marines just as well.
Yeah, I think I agree.
And those, they're just like, they're so cheap. It's 54 points for 3 of them, I believe. And I want to play them in a unit of 4. You just put them on the field, and, like, they're there. And if they shoot at them, cool, they shoot at them. If they were Space Marines, they would be gone, right? At least some stuff is still gonna give them their disgustingly resilient, and they are annoying as shit to shoot at.
They're not bad in combat either, honestly.
No, they are.
They're bad. They're strength 2.
Maybe I just
You're
roll
wrong.
bad.
You're just bad.
I just roll bad, you know.
No, you don't even roll bad. I've never killed Marines with Nurglings. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I didn't kill them.
So
Well, that's true.
yeah,
They're good at not dying.
But we discussed the psychic actions. The rule is a psyker from your unit can attempt to perform a psychic action in its psychic phase instead of attempting to manifest any psychic powers.
Okay. But yeah, so
Even
that's
psychic
just really bad.
powers.
That's really bad versus all of the multi-psychic powered units.
Yeah, just like
That's-
giving up. It's just like instead of giving up your shooting, you're giving up your
You give up the whole phase.
you're
with
giving
that
up your
unit.
phase to do an action.
Yeah, that seems really bad.
And then to get it denied on a 4-up.
Every turn.
Every turn.
Seems bad.
Every turn for like the last 6 games. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems
that
awful.
that definitely seems bad. We got a lot of weird noises going on. Are they mowing?
They're
out
mowing. People mowing next door, so
That's where that sound's been coming
part of the
from.
noise, people.
All right.
That was a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's not mowing.
Okay. I just picked it up on here. I was like, that's what I've been hearing. Like, we've been getting a lot of lows coming through, and I was trying to fix it as we were recording. So sorry about that. There's going to be an awkward that you went through an awkward phase. Hopefully it's gone. I've been messing with audio this entire time.
We let Chad talk. Sorry about that awkward phase.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I do think if you are playing psychers, that's terrible now. Like, if you have to give up, if they're multicast psychers, like if they're single, sure, it's fine. But if you're playing Thousand Suns, you can't really play that shit.
You could do it with your sorcerer and your
squad.
Yeah.
I still think
Yeah,
it's a
but then your
trap.
squad could get hit, and I don't know. That seems rough.
Yeah, I think it depends on the mission, but if you're doing it with like you said, the sergeant in your squad or whatever, it's not
Not as bad.
not
but
as
still,
bad because he just like
I just don't think you should take psychers. Like,
I agree.
What Zach
I
says.
think Zach might actually be right. I think
the
the
point of
heavy
which-
psycho armors like Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, maybe, and Demons. But I think we're gonna see a lot of movement away from them. They just give up so many points.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to adjust that at some point. It's just like unreasonable that you can stack. What is it?
Assassinate and
Assassinate and abhor the
They
witch.
shouldn't be able to be stacked.
It's just 8 points. 8 points a model, and if it's why we stand we fight. If you take that one, you're just Like I think
You can
like that we talked about was a mistake. I mean, Aaron
yeah.
just gave Zach three basically secondaries, one of his and two others all lined up on one axis.
Yeah.
I think that's how you play Ninth, though, is try to find those combos and pick out very specific units that you have to kill to max out secondaries.
Can you bring it down with assassinate, or are they the same one? Because I mean,
I think they're the same one.
Most of those, like the greater demons, are all they're huge.
That's just my list. Most of them they aren't. Like you're like Grey Knights and Thousand Suns. If you're taking,
I think they're in the same one, but
I will say once again though, like the Demon Prince should have really never ended up in combat.
No. Yeah.
The two sorcerers did not need to end up in combat at all in the situation that they were in. They have 12 inches of movement, like, and he got to him with Terminators. His bike did too, but he got to him with Terminators that move 6 inches. Like, it was just a lot of bad plays, and I don't know. I like the list. I think if you're playing it, I don't think like if you're playing Thousand Suns, you should feel discouraged because Terminators shooting 80 shots is insane. Like, just making I think that's what I shot at your bikes with was the Terminators, or did I shoot at your bikes with the Obliterators?
You killed the bikes with the Obliterators, but you killed most of that squad of Terminators with
my Terminators. It's just you make them roll a lot of saves. Like, you veterans them anyway, so you're still only wounding on 5s, but
right. You have so many shots. Eventually, I'm going to roll 1s.
Especially Zach.
And the sorcerer give you reroll 1s, so you're hitting on 3s. If you prescience it, you're hitting on 2s. You're rerolling 1s. You're +1 to wound, and you're draining him of CP. So
yeah, how much is the no rerolls? Is that 2 or 1?
It costs 2. Emperor's Auspice.
But on 40 shots or 80, it might be worth it.
Yes.
yeah, it's probably.
I mean, by the time the Terminators were relevant, I was already out of CP from trying to protect everything for so long.
Right.
I was down to 1 CP at the end of the game.
I just didn't know if it was. I know the AP one is 1, and I just didn't know.
Well, I transhumaned earlier in the game when I trying to save my Guardians on the first turn, and I definitely shouldn't have done that. I deployed them poorly and then tried to save them, and those are the one unit that I'm perfectly fine with him shooting at. Like, there's no reason to try to do that. Like, they don't do anything other than stand on objectives anyway. So.
Yeah, but I know you get into that. Like, if I can save him, he's got to shoot at him again.
Right.
You're like, oh, I can make him shoot at a bad unit twice.
But it's 2 CP, and if I just save that 2 CP, I can keep my Terminators running another turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that definitely the last turn of the game, you were out of stuff to do to the Terminators.
Right.
Which is how I killed him on the last turn that we played. I mean, it was
That's
rough.
why I'm not super stoked about losing Trajan, because I want to lose a free stratagem, but at the same time, I think the extra movements where I'm going to need to be in the next couple games. So
anyway, that was the game. I overall, like, I felt like I was happy with the way the army played. I wasn't happy with the way I played. So I definitely think there are legs there if you're a chaos player. And I think that list annihilates Space Marines on the offense because they don't have a bunch of invulnerable saves and they're not all on 2-ups. So and they can't ignore AP 1 and 2. So like all of their weapons and they can't reduce your strength. Like all of the things that made my shooting seem like felt average, Space Marines can't do. And -2 AP on Space Marine units is bananas. So
yeah, I mean, you're good versus the field, bad versus Custodes.
yeah. Well, and it didn't even feel. It felt like I played bad, and I still would have lost. But I feel like it's like 60-40 in Custodes' favor, not like 80-20.
Sure.
So I'll take a 60-40 matchup versus Custodes and smashing Space Marines.
Yeah, it's just tough because you're like you said, you're giving up with the stacking.
Yeah, well, I don't. I mean,
That's
obviously,
that's going to like put you at a slight disadvantage just to start, just because.
yeah, I think next time around I don't take while we stand we fight.
Well, yeah,
And that saves us right there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, still his assassinate and a board of witches 8 points a model. That's pretty.
Yeah, I just know this time don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Like just stay 24 inches away and kill the bikes. Only focus on the bikes. And then hope when he deep strikes something in, it's close to an Alpha Legion unit so I can make it be 12 inches away. Like that's going to be my plan is kind of bubble wrap a lot of my stuff with Alpha Legion units to have a deep strike protection, and then just kind of bring a death ball on the 24-inch outskirts against his list, and that's how I will play that match. Is kill the bikes, stay legitimately like 20 inches away from his stuff,
So you
and
get more.
let Nurglings sit on objectives. Hopefully, because if he goes and engages with Nurglings, that's
Win.
better than Space Marines.
Correct. Win for you.
So anyway, I guess we'll move on to questions. Chad, you want to go back and forth on these, I guess, or you want to do them all?
There's a few of them that are really quick answers.
Okay.
So I'll just start. We had a lot of questions. It blew up from last week. Too many to put them all, so I picked 8 of them. I'll just go through a few of them real quick. Spencer S. from the Warhammer 40,000 group. What is a good substance for removing paint from plastic miniatures?
Simple green. That's what I always use.
Have you had any? Has it ever not worked?
I've not done that much stripping. I'm more of a kind of guy that'll just buy more models. I try to strip them.
Do that honest hard work.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Not
It's not
stripping.
easy. But get you an old toothbrush and let them soak overnight in simple green. Like, don't
That's
water it down or anything. Just straight concentrate.
that's a
And
pretty consensus. That's what I've done for years.
There's a product called Tester's Easy Liftoff, ELO, and you might want to test a model in it first. I've only ever used it. The only models I've stripped have been pewter.
I was gonna say, if you're doing the simple green for plastic, I wouldn't do anything with fine cast. I'm not gonna give anybody advice on that. But if you're doing pewter, you can get a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
You can do like
But it's made by Tester's.
isopropyl alcohol.
Just
Yeah.
acetone.
Probably not acetone.
Acetone's pretty rude. But Tester's has been in the model game a long time.
20 years.
Well,
Longer than
Maybe
that,
longer
dude.
than that, yeah.
Way longer than that.
dude, since like the 50s.
Oh,
So like they know how to stuff deals. So I'm guessing it's probably good, but good idea is just test it. But I've used it and had good success with it. But I didn't even have to soak it that long,
Okay.
just a couple minutes. So you might be okay with a plastic model. But give it a test. If you got some bits, just test a bit.
I know for sure simple green will work.
Yeah.
If you're willing to put the elbow grease in, let it sit overnight, straight concentrate.
There you go. All right.
Patrick B. from the Indy 40K group asks airbrush and brush recommendations. I know you answered.
I did.
This
So I have a Patriot and I don't ever use it. I bought the Masters airbrush, like cheap stuff, and it works great. It's all about thinning your paints to the right amount, spraying it with the right pressure. My advice is use the money you would save on an expensive airbrush and buy a compressor with a tank. That way you have a consistent air pressure.
And Spray Gunner, I think it's spraygunner.net, might be .com. On there, there's a Spray Gunner sells what they call no-name compressors. It's their house brand. I bought a Master one, which is it's got a big metal shroud.
It looks nice.
It's got pressure shut off already built in. It's got a regulator, an air trap. I mean, it's the setup, and it was like $120, $130. I mean, it's a very nice one, but they have them all the way down to like $50 or $60 for a smaller one with a smaller tank if you want to go that route. But I've had mine for a little over a year, and it's quiet. It's got rubber feet. It's dampened. It doesn't vibrate a lot. And, I have nothing but good things to say about them. So.
It's fantastic. I love his air compressor. Like, I got a tankless one, and I am jealous of that. As far as brushes, I use the hobby store regular brushes, and I just take care of them with Walmart Beard Balm. And I've had them for 2 years now, and I only replaced my smallest ones for when I'm starting new sets of like a bunch of eyes or really small dots.
I can't recommend enough. They're Monument Hobbies now. The brushes they sell, the Bomb Wick, they're synthetic sable brushes. They're not too expensive. A set is like $35 ish, and you can buy. I really like their soap too. It's like Jin's Fantastic Goop. It's not. I have some Masters stuff that I got from Amazon. It's an art brush cleaner, but it's like a hard white stuff. You kind of got to lather your brush in, or you really got to rub it. This is more like pasty. It's like not so hard, and you can just a little bit of water, get soap in your brush, they come out nice. And I bought these guys all sets for Christmas.
Yeah, Great, love them.
And I love their brushes.
Yeah. That was a year or two ago.
It was a year ago. It was last Christmas, I think.
And
But
I've painted 4,000 points worth of models with it, and still using the same brushes.
Yeah, my
A lot
advice.
better life than Citadel brushes.
they
on the
were
average.
Yeah.
at Creature Caster, but now they're at Monument Hobbies, is where you can find them. And I believe it's the Bomb Wick is the ones we bought.
So once again, my advice would be don't splurge on the brushes. Use the money you save there. Buy a wet palette. The Army Painter one is on Amazon cheap. The amount of money it's going to save you on paint is going to be far more than you'd be way more than you can imagine. It's insane.
It helps keeping your paint thin too.
It's amazing.
They're pretty
So
sweet, yeah.
wet palette, more over brush.
And makeup brush. Just dry brush everything with a makeup brush. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
That's great advice. It's cheap too.
Super cheap and makes models look a whole lot better. Dry brushing is where it's at.
Yeah, just go to your CVS or
Walmart for 30
whatever.
cents,
Get a cheap, just big makeup brush, and it works.
They work great.
Or your significant other's got an old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
See,
they're awesome.
Or maybe you. We don't judge.
You never know.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
judgment here. Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on.
Jace H from the Warhammer 40,000 group. What factions are newbie friendly?
Hmm.
I got something for this one. See, you can't look at it like that because you need to find the army you like because you're gonna put a lot of time into it, right? So you want to look at the models and find the ones you like. Rules wise, they're all pretty complicated.
Yeah, Space Marines used to be, but now they have like so many sub factions and sub rule
But
sets.
you don't want to get an army that's easy to play and then paint 2,000 points of them and be like, I don't like the way this looks,
Yes.
or I
Agreed.
don't enjoy painting them. That's where the game is. Like the game on the tables, everybody shoots, everybody's psychic, all that. We got crazy stratagems to pull off different stuff. Find the army you like.
Agreed.
It's definitely about picking the models that you want to spend time with. Like, you're gonna have to paint them. You're gonna have to put them together. Like, make sure that make sure you enjoy what you're looking at. It's got to be fun, or
When you pull them out of the bag or off the shelf, you're like, yeah, this thing's sweet. It's all you got to think.
Yeah.
It's like that's what it's about. Like, sure, winning games are fun, and
But
if you get dumpstered, just sometimes you're not having a good time. But you're hanging out with friends, you're drinking a few beers, and you're rolling some dice. That's what it's really about.
But
You might as well enjoy the way it looks.
If you want to go the newbie route and just drop money on a painted army, Marines are probably the easiest.
I would say right now I would buy Custodes because you can buy so few,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's
I mean-
you learn like 3 units, and
Well,
you could.
Custodes is pretty easy to play, but they have a lot of stratagems, and you can't mess up because you only have like 10 models.
Yeah.
I would suggest guard. Guard's super easy. Everything hits on
Tanks,
fours.
shoot some stuff. Yeah.
Everything hits on fours. Most of it has.
It just seems like it would be expensive to buy guard.
It is a very expensive army to buy,
But
but
guard's also versatile. They can handle like anything.
and they soup well with everything Imperium. So if you're not quite sold on tanks, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, you can go right into Marines or Custodes or AdMech, anything else in guard, or Knights if you want to get into big models that aren't tanks.
They're sweeter than tanks.
As a new player to the game, I would stay away from orcs and Tyranids just because you need so many.
So many dudes. Yes, I agree. That's
More
why-
orcs than Tyranids. Like Tyranids have some big models that are cool. They look really sweet, but you still need a lot.
Yeah, even like the mech guns and orcs are 45 points, and they're $45 a gun. So
You're gonna need like probably 100 boys. If you're not buying them painted, you're gonna have to paint them all.
yeah,
It's gonna be a long day and a lot of money.
That's why
Yes,
I didn't pick orcs when I started because there was too many models.
so there you go.
I guess it depends on what your newbie is. Newbie
Yeah.
to the wallet, newbie to painting, or
Yeah, if you got big money to drop, and
But there could be the best way to kind of do it, in my opinion, is set up a crusade, like a league, an escalation league, where if you got 4 or 5 people, everybody starts a new army, and you start with a few hundred points, and you paint it, and then the next week you add some points, and everybody's got to have it painted by the next week, and it incentivizes people to paint and expand your army. So find something you just think sweet, show up and start with small games, and work your way to 2,000 points.
Yep.
Kind of the way we all started, we didn't really have a league, but we all bought armies around the same time. We all started with start collectings, and it just escalated to Zach buying Bane Blades like a week later.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next one.
John W. from the Warhammer 40K group, he actually contacted me before he posted the question. He said, I'm going to post this, and then I want to ask this as well for the pod. If you guys answer, he says dice. We love them, we hate them, and yet they are what make our game so awesomely random. No matter how well we plan our moves, calculate our averages, dice have a funny way of swinging one way or another. So we all have little quirks about dice. Myself, I'll only pick up a dice showing a 6. They've proven themselves. What is a dice quirk that you have?
I like it. I'm doing that now. Only 6s.
Well, that's why I noticed one thing Zach does. Zach will fail a roll on a 1, grabs the same dice, and re-rolls it. And I'm always like, that dice, it's not clutch. That dice is not clutch.
I give my dice a few rolls, and if rolling bad for over a few rolls, they go across the room.
Many a
I've
die has
definitely
been chucked
seen that.
across the garage.
There's been a dice prison when Zach's playing.
Yeah. I mean, we play in my garage, so I just throw them to the other table, and I'll move on to the next ones. But I give my dice a few tries. Like, nobody's perfect.
Like we got a friend in the list, Roscoe, and he would take his dice out of the cube, and then the cube became the dice prison. Like if you rolled a 1,
Back in there.
back in the cube. You're done. You're out.
I won't. I don't like rolling the small dice. I started with those when we all first started playing, and if they have like an indicator or something on them, I just don't like them. I feel like they don't roll right. Anvil got us all. Was it Anvil or was it Zach? Zach got us all big bags of dice for Christmas, and I love them. I do put mine all back in the bag after every roll. Got to remix them. Every time.
That's a little quirk.
And then
No, I roll them and then I throw them in the bag and I recount them every time.
Yeah, Zach bought us all dice. I made us all bags.
Yes, and I will only roll like 10 at a time. I won't ever roll more than 10. I like to split everything up into factors of 10.
We've talked about this 100 times. Like, yeah, he'll pick up, like, he has to roll 40 shots. He'll pick them up 10 at a time. Zach and myself are like, let me get two handfuls.
I played the Castellan robots, would staple them down, was rolling 96 dice.
But you dropped like 73 dice on the floor a game.
Well, it's because my hands don't work anymore because my neck's broken.
I don't want to pick dice up.
I like getting random. Like, I'll shake them, like, behind the back.
We know those dice were loaded.
They keep thinking my dice are loaded because I'll mix it up,
I mean, that's the only reason to justify any dubs.
It was like 5-ups, and he was doing this, like, behind the back, like, roll thing, and he was hitting 5-ups, and we were like, these dice are loaded.
I believe it was box cars, actually.
I did box card.
We needed box cars and went behind the back and threw box cars down. Everyone was like,
Yeah, like...
I do know Zach gave up on the GW dice.
Oh, yeah.
I think Anvil did, too.
Yeah, the ones that the skulls for...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
They gave up on those. Those were...
Yeah.
My dice are just $2 dice from Walmart. They come in packs of 5. I just bought, like, 6 packs of them, and...
The GW ones might be weighted, but they're weighted to the skull.
Which is a 1.
Which is a 1. It's not where you want to be.
Yeah, I ended up buying... I had custom Chessex dice made with anvils for the 6s, so... That's
Hacks.
It's weird that
Hacks.
the
You roll 6s a lot.
No.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. We got a lot of questions.
Leighton V, which is Verosco in our group, via email, he emailed the show. It seems like the power behind a lot of armies right now is due to the buffs they got during Psychic Awakening. Knowing this now, what all Psychic Awakening rules are you guys the most excited about building an army around?
For me, it was the duplicitous tactic, or no, what is it? What are they called? The
Cult of Duplicity.
Duplicity. The Cult of Duplicity and Alpha Legion's Psychic Awakening were both insane, in my opinion. So those are the ones that got me most excited. But all of them, I feel like, are definitely. It was like GW, was finally like, we understand how we're going to play this game.
Well,
for most armies.
To me, what Psychic Awakening gave most armies was build your own chapters, or whatever you want to call it.
You do that.
So, if you want to build, like Zach said, like in Guard, you don't have to be, to learn anymore?
Right.
You can just build your own, and you are to learn. You know what I mean? Like you can take the best of two different...
More Catachin, but sure.
Yeah. I think that was twofold a great idea, because one, it gives you a lot more leeway on making your rules. It gives you a lot more customability. But also, from a lore stance, you can also, if you're one of those players, like a narrative player or whatever, you can build your own legion.
Yeah.
Build your own. So that's a really cool idea, and it works well for everybody.
Yeah. I just feel like the stratagems now, I feel like in all the original codexes until probably the last 3, were pretty much a Space Marine version of this, a demon version of the same thing, and then the the Psychic Awakenings, they felt like tailored to the army,
Yeah, I agree.
and like they just felt better to me.
I'd like to see most of them or similar ones in the new codexes. Like, I'd like to see them keep up with this army specific
Yeah,
showcase. You know, I hope they don't just reprint old codexes with a couple different things.
same here. Like right now, if you look at the Necron stratagems, most of them are really, really bad, and most of them are bland except for like 2 or 3. So yeah, I mean, there's not really a specific one. I think there's a few to not be excited about.
I kind of wish there were more. I understand why they do it. I kind of wish there were more just army wide or chapter wide stratagems and less unit ones. They're like,
And I think they did that specifically.
Yeah, because it'd be
Yeah.
broken.
I think there should be more faction ones. Now, we're losing about 3 pages of tactical objectives, which nobody cares about. So make them more stratagems.
Yeah.
Like, make them more specific. Like,
what?
your faction, not factions, like Legion specific or
Yeah.
sub-faction, however you want to
Chapter, Legion, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
like, instead of getting 1 Mephrit stratagem, get like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That kind of helps flesh out those, like, armies.
Yeah, it definitely gives them a feeling.
And it gives you more than just one reason to take them.
Yeah, that was to me like more like it's not that I want more army wide, but like say, hey, look, Mars now has 3 stratagems, and
Oh yeah,
Stygies has 3. That you get like this Stygies unit can do this as
Yeah, that's
opposed
fair.
to
Sometimes.
just being like you can do this with this crappy unit that no one ever plays.
Really, right now, you get 1 Legion trait and 1 stratagem and be like, is this enough to take this Legion?
yeah.
Probably not.
You're right. All right, what do we got next?
I'm gonna skip over that one because it ties into the question of the week. Tau Player 313 via email. In a game in which players must capture objectives, the troop choice is king. Objective secured has always been a powerful ability, but in 9th edition, it has become yet even more valuable. As a competitive player, this is my question: how many objective secured units should I take in my army? Zach?
That's an interesting question.
It depends on the army, too, because
If you're
some...
playing Custodes, don't worry. You're
Yeah,
covered. They're all objectives.
all of them.
Your Space Wolves, don't worry, almost all of them are objectives secured.
I'm playing. See, I played 3 troop choices in my list. That's the only thing that's objective secured. I think you don't go home without 3 just typically, unless you're like a special army.
I think that's a very army-specific thing. As a
It
towel
is.
player, like, you're not really running out and staying on objectives with your troops.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
really
fair.
your thing.
I think it's more about making sure you're taking infantry
So you can pull
more
off
so.
actions.
Yeah, so you can do actions if you want to do them more so than objective secured.
I was really looking forward to what Zach had to say about this. Having the entire objective secured army. Is it? I mean, it's that strong, right?
I mean, I talked about it earlier. If all of your stuff's objective secured, you can move your 1 bike captain over and steal an objective from a Riptide or a transport or whatever.
Great
You don't even have
example.
to kill the thing.
Great on Clean War.
Right. It's really powerful. It's a very powerful ability. I never really considered. I don't take it into consideration when I'm building my lists that aren't Custodes, how much objective secured I have. Mostly just I get in my mind what units I'm going to use to stand on objectives, and if they're not objective secured, they're just bully units like Bulgrin or I don't know.
The problem with
Bulgrin.
generally,
Polgrid.
outside of Custodes and a couple other specific units, your objective secured units are not very durable. They're not good at holding objectives. Even Marines, like regular Marines, are no one vulnerable.
Not a
So,
great save with
no,
when
no.
they're out in the middle of nowhere.
You don't want them out in the middle of nowhere, yeah. So, and now that you can't have terrain on objectives, which
I think is great for the
I
record.
agree. So it's just like, what are you really willing to stand out there or steal a point away from? Like, if that's your plan, like, I'm going to steal a point away from this guy with my guy's objective secured. Yeah, you might do that, but he's not going to live long enough for it to matter. Especially since you don't score until your next turn.
It's a very interesting way to look at it, though. I've never really considered how many to take. I'll do some more thinking on that.
I take 3 to 4 generally.
I think I have 3 or 4 as well.
Deck takes like 12.
Yeah.
But his arm, yeah. I mean,
But in like guard, I am taking spearheads now for all my tanks because Lehman Russes get objective secured. But I'm taking them because they're Lehman Russes, not because they're objective secured. So
It's
I don't
definitely
know,
this is a great question.
It's very
But
interesting.
do you think about putting him in the spearhead just to get that ability?
I do. Like,
Also, you can get more tanks in the list that way.
yeah, I need more. I need more heavy slots.
All the tanks.
All the tanks.
And so why not just make them objectives? Because it is a very powerful ability that does come up a lot more in 9, I feel like, than it did in 8.
I thought it was a great question.
Yeah.
Do you take that?
What do we
trade
got?
with
One
knights?
more on here?
Make your
One
knight-
more, and then we have one that
Probably
goes with.
not. Just like a knight's list, because if you put a knight on an objective, there's generally not much room to get on the objective, and if you do, I'm probably going to kick you in the teeth.
captain versus knight.
I think Captain still loses that fight.
No, probably.
I don't know if he loses.
I mean, he tap dances with 8 strength autocannons, so
If the knight gets in it, or the captain gets in and just pops back out and like,
That's
wait.
right.
He does
Waves
cheat a
in.
lot, yeah.
but then he's not on the objective.
You never know.
All right, one more, and then the last question goes into our topic. So, the last question we have from Glenn D, Rob B, Maximilian K, and like 6 other people. They all commented on this when he asked. He says, ever since the lockdown, I've been having trouble finding the inspiration to work on my models. It feels like I'm trying to put a shoe on the wrong foot. Yet despite not having inspiration, I'm also finding myself missing hobbying, and also the peace that building, customizing my models, and painting gives me in life. Are there any tips anyone can suggest to get that motivation and inspiration back?
My thing whenever I'm like that is I will approach from a new angle. So like I will basically change up what I'm doing. So like I'll either play a different strategy or like I was getting pretty bored with Rustcrons for a while. So what I did is I just took a random unit and I was like, what would these guys look like if they weren't rusty? So I painted up a whole unit like pristine and just did a total change up. That for me kind of broke me of that thing. Or just like, even though you don't want to do it, sit down, grind out like a unit of 5 and see it completely done, and then like that feeling of reward at the end of it will maybe like reinvigorate you. Otherwise, if you have friends, obviously that would be my next suggestion. You have beers.
My question would be, do you display your models? Because I find if my models are at home in foam and cases, I'm less motivated to paint. But if I have models like out on the table and I see them, I'm like, I need to finish that, or you know, like I'm like, I want to see this finish, you know, or I'm like, I really like that looks. I need to finish that squad up.
I've noticed that every time Troy and I'll go to Anvil's house to paint, there's always like a knight or something different on that table.
That's because he has nowhere else to put that knight. It's so big.
But still, like, it's like, oh, that's badass. You've been
It
working
has
on
its
that.
own place at the dinner table.
Something changes every time in that spot, though, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. He's like, oh, yeah, I've been working on that. So I
You
mean,
get it out. You just do a little. I mean, and just you don't have to sit down and do marathon sessions. If you just get it out, like just yesterday, I just did lenses on my knight's face. I just sat down and it was like 3 colors and just and a little gloss varnish, and that's what I did. You know, and it's like, well, it's just a little bitty thing. And if you can do that every day, it doesn't take long to finish up a couple models, and it adds up. It's just the little bitty thing. Just try to find little things that you can maybe take pride in. Be
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna make this look awesome, and just do the little things.
Maybe just take a little bit of time here and there. Take breaks. You know, it's not a job. It's not a scheduled thing. Like,
Yeah,
if you're not feeling it, wait until you do. You know, try and get some inspiration.
But-
try some different things.
but like, also don't try to paint like all of one thing. Like, I'll use Zach as an example. Zach started with Astra Militarum, and he tried to paint like 200 guardsmen to start his army.
It was a terrible idea.
That will definitely make you not enjoy painting and not want to paint. So if you're not feeling motivated with one thing, maybe go to painting a vehicle or just a different unit, just to get out of it. You know, to get out of the mold.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I hated painting. I mean, I detested it. I found it boring. But after I did it, like just a couple, I did it on the long stream, got everything put together. That was a big step for me building stuff, because I thought that was boring too. But I felt so rewarded seeing all those models put together. I'm like, now I got to get something on them. So I took them to his house and he airbrushed
painted
them all.
them
He airbrushed them all blue, because that would have took forever to do it with just a paintbrush. But now, like, I'm finding myself like, oh, I got to get gold on these details. Oh, I want to do some blood splatter here. I'm just like, he'll be playing a game in the garage, and we just have that table off to the side, and I sat there and I just worked on some models. And then I go to these models. Now I'm working on some bikes. Now then I go back to these. Now I'm working on regular intercessors. I just got the itch from doing it. Like he says, I see them there. They're in the foam, not there. But I have them sitting on a little shelf. I'm like, I want to work on those today. Pull them down. Like, this is what I'm going to work on. I found, you got to find that. Everybody's different, but mine was, I started doing it, and now I'm sucked in.
That we shamed you.
I did get hard shamed, but
relentlessly.
I think I would suggest maybe looking into other podcasts or YouTube videos or battle reports. I would listen to that stuff constantly. Like, I don't even watch battle reports more than I listen to them. I got a couple guys I really like, but hearing about people playing the game makes me more interested in the game. That's what works for me. Other than if you're just made of money starting a new army, anytime I really get down, I'm just like, I'll just start looking at a different army.
Or just pick a model that you think is sweet. That's not necessarily just like, I bought a Mephiston. I don't really play Blood Angels, but I was like,
this looks cool.
Mephiston's sweet. I'll buy a Mephiston for whatever it was, like $30. I'll paint a $30 Mephiston.
Sure.
Just, if you just want, or if I've been looking at assassins lately, like maybe I'll paint assassins.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
I do hate them, but I think the models are kind of cool.
I mean, that's how I got into Custodes. I've been painting Guard for so long, and my paint scheme on Guard is so boring. It's just tan and browns.
Tan and brown tanks, tan and brown tanks.
Tan and brown guys, tan and
So
brown
I was
tanks.
like, I want to paint some gold for a while, so I bought some Custodes, and then the Psychic Awakening came out, and I got on that bandwagon right now. Now I've been painting a lot of Custodes. I'm having a lot more fun doing that. So maybe it's just
They look good too.
switching up what you have to work on might help. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I said, if you don't buy a second army, just whatever you're painting, just change a paint scheme. That's what I did for a while.
That's a whole lot cheaper than buying a whole.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
To me, part of the joy is also learning new things. Try something like if you've never done a power sword, try to do a power sword.
yeah,
Just like watch a YouTube tutorial and give it a go.
yeah,
Like if it looks bad, just paint over it again.
Yeah.
Just give it a shot.
I know it's tall ass when you're having trouble in hobby, but try and get something done. Finish a model. If you got something that's only missing it, because you're gonna, that feeling you get when it's done and you look at it, like Aaron said, that is a great reward. You're like, this is done, I did this, and then that'll give you more motivation, most likely.
Starting is definitely the hardest part.
Starting is the hardest part. You sit there and you look at it, but once you get it done, you sit down, and you just get that feeling that I did this.
and once you've locked in a paint scheme, the rest of it goes much quicker. Like if you got a unit of 5 and you do one up like real nice, it's going to take you 2 or 3 days maybe to get all the little details right, but then the next 4 they're going to be busted out, and then when you look at all 5 of them and you put that picture on Facebook or wherever you send it to your friends, like we send each other like play-by-plays on all of our paint jobs.
Oh yeah.
Just because I know for me, like when they're like, that's sweet, it's like, sweet, I'm gonna keep going, and it's just, try to surround yourself with other people like that, and Facebook is honestly a great place for it.
Send us pictures.
Yeah.
On our Facebook group. We love to see them.
Yeah. Post
Yeah.
them. Send them to the
Or
Discord
Technical Reserves.
thing.
Yeah.
Or I would say, or if you want, like, hey, I like to bounce ideas off people. Like, put a color on this and put another color and be like, what do you think of this color? Too bright? Something else? Just try something. Try a bright orange. Just do something different.
Yeah, I think I spent more time looking at the picture thread from the Indie 40K group that commented on our post
Oh man.
than I did on all of Facebook that week.
Oh yeah.
Like just looking at the details in
Like
the armies,
70
I was like,
people posting their models. That's
Yeah,
what I wanted, and we got such a great response.
yeah, I was just like, holy shit! And you get some cool ideas. Like, I definitely got some ideas from it. So
In worst case scenario, like I know because of the virus, a lot of people aren't going around each other a lot. Like our group is small, that's why we've been hanging out. Like hang out with some friends and drink some beers and just talk about Warhammer. I mean, that'll get the juices flowing too.
Just have a backyard gathering where everybody can stay socially distant if that's your thing, and
Just talk about it.
Or if you all got webcams, I mean,
Yeah.
there's ways.
yeah, 100%.
You don't have to be
Join.
together.
Go into a Discord group. You can all video. You can all have a video
Yeah,
in a
have
chat.
a paint session. Everybody have their video up. And what do
Yeah.
you think of this? Just there's ways. Just get the guys together or gals together and just try to have a good time, man.
Starting's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to move on to the meat and potatoes.
Okay, so the meat and Kayvon's question via email will lead us to the meat and potatoes. He says, "Is a horde army viable? What would you need to make it viable? What army would do best via a horde army right now?"
Versus a horde army?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Is it viable? What would we need to make it viable, and what could beat it?
Viable. After playing so far the games we play, I feel like every list, and me and Zach are both kind of on the same page. Most lists have built-in answers to hordes already, and I think no, they're not viable. I feel like every list already has blast stuff built into it naturally, or it's like extremely high volume of firepower.
I think the meta is, we're still really new into the meta, and with Space Marines, especially Salamanders, featuring a ton of aggressors, being like the top dog in the army right now, or in the metagame right now, it's a bad place to be. Go try to bring a bunch of Tyranids. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to.
Those 30 guys will die.
Until the aggressor spam goes down, I don't think it's a very good idea to try to bring and outmodel somebody. Now, whenever the elite version of Murder's Aggressors comes out, I think then would be a great time to horde, but I don't think it is yet.
Even then, you're taking, like when the elite list that suppresses the aggressor list comes out, you're still going to be kind of at the mercy of the meta if you take a horde list. Like, your army doesn't match up well, even if you have certain things that you, like I said, we build your army for a couple secondaries. You're going to struggle against those lists just because they're just going to have this volume of dice to throw at you.
Yes.
So you're going to, if you go to a tournament, now if it's what you enjoy, then by all means.
Yeah, but we're discussing competitive.
Yeah,
From a competitive standpoint.
I'm sure you can make your horde list work, but it's gonna be a lot more work than it is playing almost any other type of list right now.
Because you're going to show up to a tournament and you're going to run into a list that has aggressors or a bunch of, like a guard shows up with a bunch of hellhounds.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just going to be at a disadvantage. Now, if, you know, competitively, you're just at the mercy of who you get paired up against. So you're going to be going into a tournament flipping a coin.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Part of the problem with hordes also, and why you don't see them as much as people are scared of them, is the coherency is a big change, and it definitely changes the way you have to play. You can't cover near this. So they might still be viable. I don't want to say you just can't take them, right? But it's definitely a lot harder. There is a lot, aggressors and stuff like that. But coherency is a big deal, and I think like a lot of tournaments have gone to chess clocks, and just moving that many models is rough. Like, it's a lot easier to just not, especially when they're not, like you said, they're not the best. So why take that risk? So if you're worried about your horde army because you're just not seeing lists, I think there's a couple things besides the gameplay that are kind of
Against you right now.
Yes. I don't think just completely unviable. I know aggressors are a problem.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just aggressors. It's like big squads of Rubric Marines.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I was
large
saying.
squads of Alaris Terminators. They all have blast grenade launchers. Like,
And then also
everything that's
punch
really
stuff.
not everything. A lot of the things that are really good in the metagame right now are just naturally good against hordes.
Yeah.
So but I still think it's possible you could win games because you just put enough, you just show up with 300 bodies and you cover up enough objectives. You're going to slow them down enough that you might be able to outpoint them. But it's
just such a
it would be
it's
a
a
middle.
tough slog, and the price of all the cheap models went up. I just don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah, because 300 bodies, no matter what, is 1,500 points. Best case scenario.
Is it not viable because nobody's tried it yet? Like, what happens, like, legitimately?
I feel like the math
Like-
doesn't work out. So, like, I play 380 points in Scarab Terminators, and it's 10 models that I can put anywhere on the board.
Yeah.
They can put out 80 shots. Like,
That's-
guarantees is going to kill a 30-man unit. A turn.
Okay. But what if they have legitimately 300 dudes on the table?
That's
That was
one
one
unit.
squad that he can pay to shoot
Yeah.
twice.
How many points is that?
380.
Okay, so
Because Marines
380
put out a
kills.
similar amount of fire.
So 380 kills, 130th
150.
of,
150. Kills
per
150
turn,
points.
but he's just saying that you're going to
But he
lose.
still has his 380 point unit, and you don't have
And
300 points.
yeah.
I mean, eventually,
Oh,
isn't there a chance it can just like? There's so many guys that it'll just
he
take
still
over.
gets to shoot. Like unless you're getting
Unless they're in there.
You can't say nobody's tried it, because think about how many games of Magic we played before we went to a tournament. People have tried it and they've decided it's not good enough to take.
But there are other stratagems. Like, that's why I think you saw the Orc Buggy list.
Yeah, the
Because-
orc list that had no boys.
Or
Yeah.
list that has 0 boys.
And I genuinely think that like either the best horde list is either orcs, and it's struggling because they're 9 points now, right? Or 8 points. I think a boy's 8 or 9. I know he went up from 7. He was 7. He's 8 or 9 points, and boys are insane for what they do for a squad. Like they get up to 5 attacks apiece. They can be put immediately on your face, and they can bring a lot of pain. And when that's not good enough as an orc player,
What will ever be again then? Will Horde armies be good ever again?
Well, when they get codexes and rules are going to
yeah,
change.
when the rules
Well,
change.
like we already talked about it, like when the things that beat all the things that are shooting all the shots aren't as good.
Yeah,
Like wait for the army that comes in and beats up on this aggressor list.
so there's
Because
paper.
it's probably going to be like a lot of las cannons or something crazy, and then they can't handle hordes anymore.
Yeah, so look, you're
Because
looking
they
at
get 2 shots.
like the paper rock scissors meta. Like right now, you got, the rock, and then the paper will come along, and then you got to show up with the scissors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right now there's just a lot of rock.
Well, the problem is if when Marines move to 2 wounds, it's just going to be really hard to remove
Unless
armor from the game generally. It's going to be much harder to shift that meta because they just naturally have 2 wounds built in.
boys go to 2-1 too.
If,
Now,
well,
they'll
now-
probably go
now-
way up crazy in points.
But or what's this? Not to say that a lot of weapons don't go to
I
two
mean,
wounds.
that's a nice segue.
Well, I will say there is the other flop side of that is that maybe if it's not orcs, it's nids. Just because they can move so far across the board and they can at least attempt to touch you. But even then, against most armor, against most armies right now, they don't actually have the strength or the AP to take you down. They're going to slow you from getting across the table, but like you could shut down a whole gun line for like a turn, and then it's going to step back and it's going to kill a unit, right? And then it's going to come in one more time, and they're going to wipe that unit out. You're going to kill maybe 100 points of models, and then they're just going to slowly just sweep you back off the board. And that's like the best case scenario.
The other option would be like Gene Stealer called, because they get some cheap. You can kind of mix Tyranids and stuff, but the issue with them was their niche in 8th edition was take it out flank.
Yeah, I know everybody can do it.
Now everybody can do it, so they don't have.
That's why I don't think they're the ones.
But I'm saying, but they can also field a bunch of cheap bodies, like with flamers, and drop flamers on you. So like they have a few tools in the bag.
Yeah.
So, but I still think Tyrion is probably just sheer volume of bodies.
I mean,
It would be your jet best.
pretty much everybody that's hoarding now they all cost the same. Tyranids just are superior there because you
Synapse.
take synapse, you don't have to take morale phase.
I have a counter though. I think instead of the normal horde, send as many bodies up the board as you can, and see if I can control it before you can kill me. What if you just take shit ton of plague bearers and just hold the board?
Your board. Your side.
Well, no, I mean you got to move up still, but
I'm taking half. Come get it.
Yeah,
and then
I
put
think
something like a plague burst crawler. Or, I guess rumor is defilers might be really good, and you can give them disgusting and death guard. So maybe something like that. Now I don't know if that quite qualifies as a horde army if you're bringing like 60 to 90 plague bearers.
Sounds like a horde to me.
Yeah.
well, I
They're
don't
not going to
see
be hoarding. They're going to be standing there being like, "Don't come over here because you're not getting through."
well Plague Bearer. See, I just don't see you bringing more than 60 is the problem with all the other tools you need.
Right.
Like if it's not 100 plus, I don't think. I mean 90, I guess would be kind of the minimum. To feel hordish to me, but I do like that idea. Is just 30 plague bears and just put them on cover a whole objective and just be like,
Come get it.
come kill them.
I've got some lists I've been toying around with. I'm going to try it. I'll get back to you on that. My thought is 60 plague bears, like 4 or 5 squads of nurglings, and then I know I've said it in the past, but I'm gonna try Demon Princes again because if in that list all 3 Demon Princes are the highest point models, but then they're while we stand we fight, and I don't want them fighting. I
Yeah.
want you to fight Plague Bears and that's it.
Well, they have
Plague
to
Bears
come through 60 Plague Bears to get to
I
you.
want you to fight Plague Bears and Nurglings,
Yeah.
and just gotta watch for deep strikes.
Well, and you can just throw Nurglings up until the Plague Bears get to that
Yeah.
objective. That
And
seems.
just keep your demon princes in the plague bearers.
And then my list has a squad of 10 Blight Lords to try and hammer something if I need it.
I'm sure you're playing Defilers or something like that in there as well. Nope.
It's all infantry.
Okay.
Well,
That's-
infantry and swarms and Demon Princes.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I don't know. I don't think you can convert versus power armor right now. Is really the
That's
main
the
problem.
with Hordes.
They're just Marines are just too efficient right now.
Yeah, and they're like Zach said, they're playing aggressors, which is the hard counter to your list. Like I feel like Scarab Cult Terminators are bananas versus that, and aggressors are twice as good. So
I think I would hang on though because we got a codex coming soon. Everybody knows they're busted. Them and Eradicators. I wouldn't be surprised if both those units get hit on points, or I don't think they'd change the rules.
hopefully not.
I think they
they're-
might get shot in points.
I think there's probably an answer already in the codexes. Like, it's just we're not seeing a whole lot of tournaments. There's not a whole lot of meta shift right now.
Yeah,
This was literally the first list that came out that's still doing well.
yeah, it
Give
won
this-
again last week. So
Let's give it some time.
Well, like I
Somebody's
said-
going to figure out how to beat it.
Zach's got an Eradicator hot take.
I don't think Eradicators are particularly great. Like, they're good, but that's a super competitive slot. And
I'm more on
Marines.
Zach's side. I'm
the more I play with them, the more I don't. They're playable. They are definitely good, but I think you have to take 9, and then you don't get to take. Like, if you're trying to keep your detachments small, you can't take the Dev Squad,
Aren't they-
which I think is really good.
I'm playing 2 patrols.
Thunderfire Cannon.
Thunderfire cannons, whirlwinds, those things are all super playable. So
No tanks.
I think-
you can't take tanks or dreadnoughts.
Well, you can
Right.
take 2 patrols.
yeah, you're just
Yeah, then you get
sacrificing
1.
2 CP.
It gives
but then you
4
get
slots.
one extra thing if you have to take, because if you're not taking 9 Eradicators, I don't think you're doing enough.
Well, then maybe you take a Spearhead. Pay the extra CP.
Yeah, then you just pay 3 CP instead of 2. But you're still okay.
I just don't like. You could just not take the Eradicators because they're not. I don't think they're as good as everybody thought they were.
I think for 120 points.
They're super efficient.
Yeah.
But Devastator squads are just better.
1 Devastator squad is good in a drop.
Well, we talked.
I don't know if I would put Devastator squads in my line.
Sure,
I just
but
hope they hold it.
Say, but I think I'd rather take a Devastator squad, a Thunderfire cannon, and then I would like to take 9 Eradicators, but you can't do that.
Not in 1 detachment.
But
So
we were talking today about how indirect fire still seems pretty good.
It does seem like it has its uses.
So, like, people were talking about the Thunderfire Cannon wasn't going to see any more play because you just don't have room because you're playing Eradicators. And Zach was like, well, I laid out his case that I don't think they're that good. So,
I mean, they're definitely good,
yeah.
but I don't know if they're auto include must have 9 in every list.
Or
I think you need to have 9 to guarantee that hopefully 6 of them can do something.
I agree,
I think that's
but
the
it's
catch.
such a tax on.
It's only 120 points though.
Yeah, but
like
when
I'd
you
rather
use the
pay 2
detachment
CP.
slot.
But
Yeah.
I went not first like half the games. I played like 10 games with them now, and like they've been good twice.
But you park them on the like you put them in the stupidest places. Though that is not up for debate.
Yeah.
We're not going to have that conversation. If they died on the first turn
Well,
and it wasn't indirect fire, then you didn't have them in cover
Okay.
because they can move out of cover and they can shoot with no penalty. So you played bad.
so even the game I ranched Anvil by 75 points, they died on turn 3. Okay, still all 9 dead, and they killed one thing ever
How?
because they have a 24-inch range, and it's easy to stay out of that.
If they made it to turn 3, they did their job.
They probably kept a lot of things away.
Yes. You won that game because I was pinned back deep,
He
And
couldn't
Bobby-
come within that bubble, or
and-
it dies.
and you charged me with made a 12-inch charge through woods.
That didn't mean the Eradicators did anything.
Well, they controlled the big middle of the
They're-
board.
I'm not trying to say they're bad. I'm just saying I don't think they're auto included in every list. Like when we saw the thing spoiled and we talked about it on here, it's like these things are super fucking good and they're super cheap and they're great. And I think the news kind of worn off on them for me. Like I think I still would play Thunderfire cannons. At least one.
I think I would play one because it's got some pretty snazzy stratagems to go with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd play a bunch.
Yeah, we talked about that.
No, I don't think you spam Thunderfire cannons,
Yeah.
but I was just auto-including 3 Eradicators
But
in
would you
every
play-
list of Marines.
like,
And I
if
don't
you're-
think I have to do that.
If you're doing 2 patrols, like, do you take 2 squads of Eradicators? Are they
Huh?
still worth it, or are they not worth it unless there's 9?
I think
I think if I had 2 squads, I might deep strike some.
Deep strike the squad of Eradicators.
I don't think
bring
3
them
is
in?
efficient enough. I think you have to play more than 3.
And maybe this will change when the Codex comes out and you can have a squad of more than.
yeah, if you could have like a squad of 5.
Well, I think that fixes a whole lot of the problem.
But I don't
Yeah.
think so I'm
I
guessing.
know they go to 60 points.
I'm
if they
guessing
do
they're going to get some stratagems that lets them do some stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But Marines are going to get better. Who would have guessed?
Well, no,
Yeah.
but whenever they make new models, they give them a couple stratagems.
right now
Like,
the
even
units
if they're
are
not going to be good.
right now the units are locked, so it's a little weird. If they get to where they can take variable numbers in the units, they're gonna be insane.
But there's also precedent for them not to get any bigger. So,
Yeah. I hope they don't. I really do.
like suppressors, you can't
I'd rather
change the
see Blade
size
Guard
of them.
veterans get bigger squad sizes than.
I would
Yeah.
too.
I think they're gonna do that with Blade Guard veterans, well, which was why I kind of think they might do it with them as well.
We'll
But,
see.
like suppressors and eliminators, you can't adjust.
I think there's so the first few codexes in 8th edition end up being pretty crappy. They know that. But I think this first codex is actually going to be pretty splashy.
I hope so.
I think
Because
I think it's going to come out.
Because as 8th
Yeah.
edition went,
Well, Necrons are coming out too, so
I mean,
But I think they've seen that mistake, and we've seen some of the rumors, rule changes, stuff coming. I think this Marine book is going to swing for the fences.
yeah,
So what do we think? With the 2 wounds thing on all the new Marines.
I think it's great.
I think it's good for chaos.
Yeah.
Especially good for chaos.
I think if you weren't, besides Devastators, if you were playing regular Marines, it was just because you liked the models, or you didn't want to buy Primaris. Because really, there's no reason not to be playing the 2-wound Marines.
Yeah, everybody in Imperium's been playing Primaris anyway.
Yeah.
So I
And
think it's great for chaos.
Scarab Occult Terminators
Ooh.
God.
with 3 up invuls. Seems insane. Same with rubrics.
Blight Lords with 3 wounds is just
Yeah.
I like it.
Woo!
two
Woo!
wound plague marines.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, 2 wound rubrics. They have
2-wound
invuls.
Corn
built in.
Berserkers. That's what we've been talking about that this week.
Yeah.
Corn Berserkers seem really good.
Yeah, that all seems insane. So let's go on to what were we talking about next? Transports, right?
I think Devastators with 2 wounds actually does really help that unit.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I don't think it
It
changes.
just depends on how. Really, all this across the board is how the points are going to factor in.
Sure.
I just feel like
Plague marine
Devastators.
should be
Slap-
300 points apiece.
Yeah, slapping 2 wounds on what we have now, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
But I
it be?
assume that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
I think it infinitely helps out chaos more than it does Imperium.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely a big buff for chaos, but I feel like their armor needs it. They don't have as they don't
I
have
think it's-
all the tricks. So
I think it's super elegant because they really need a Primaris, and it's hard to force that into the lore.
yeah,
So just giving him 2 wounds like solves that problem for
Yeah,
the most part.
kind of does.
yeah. I don't care about the sculpts. Honestly, I'm just happy to have 2.
I mean,
2
new
wounds.
sculpts would be sweet.
Yeah.
But
I think I would like to see it in all the other armies, though. I don't know if that's the case. Like, I would like to see Warriors go to 2.
They're not. They already got a confirmed thing. They're 1 wound still.
I would like to see Custodians go up to 4.
Yeah, I bet you would.
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
I will say-
5-wound Terminators? No thanks.
I will say my last thing once again on the Eradicators though is you need to understand that they're a bubble of do not enter for any vehicle.
So I had to keep my stuff out of the bubble.
There
Like-
is there is threat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not that they didn't shoot anything. They also didn't let anything move in this big arc.
That's why he was in a corner. 'Cause there was a 24-inch murder bubble.
Actually, it's more than that because they're assault, so they can advance and shoot.
Yeah. That's what happened.
Yes.
They're a keeper of secrets no-go zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you get there and
With
kill them
a
first.
Bobby G in the middle of them, you know.
Yeah. With a Bobby G that can keep pushing
They're
them back.
definitely good. I wasn't trying to say
Yeah.
they're not,
But
but
is
I
that-
don't think they're
Auto include.
auto-include in every Space Marine list anymore.
I was just saying Chad's lack of success with them is not an indicator of
He also, looks at, well, they didn't kill anything. It's like, well, but none of my stuff was in the middle of the board because I didn't want to get Eradicator.
Yeah. He also didn't drop a drop pod on turn 1, so
Well, you can't
Mistakes were
take too
made.
much of Chad's advice.
The transports?
Transport.
Yeah, the importance of transports in 9th edition. This is a big thing that I've seen it all over, and I read a few articles about it this week. But Anvil really is on.
Well, if you look at some of the armies that aren't especially power armor armies, There is Wave Serpent spam in Eldar. There is like Admech is playing. We're playing Dune Riders.
Skyweavers.
The wave serpent thing is tricky because a lot of people aren't putting anything into wave.
Well, but it's transports. You're
Same
able,
with the Venom spam in Dark Eldar. The guys riding them are kind of irrelevant.
Yeah,
they're just there to hold objectives when they get out.
well,
That's
that's the point. In 9th edition, you can basically, like for me in Admech, I can take a 12 wound hovercraft and put my squad in it and roll it on an objective, and now it's going to suck up 12 wounds of shooting, and then my guys are going to get out and be obsec on the objective. Or I can, if I get there safely, they can get out and stand behind the transport and kind of be screened from getting shot at because they're short, transport big. So I think a lot of armies that aren't power armor armies are going to have to look at transports in 9th edition because it kind of plays into what we talked about earlier with the OBSEC. You don't have a lot of durable units to hold objectives, so what's the best way to get non-durable units up the field? Either got a strategic reserves in, which is going to spend CP, and we all love our CP. Don't want to be wasting those. Or you put them in a more durable unit, a transport, and run them forward. Impulsors are, they're power armor, but they're sweet too. So,
Even a drop pod.
Wait, you mean Space Marines has a good transport too?
What?
What?
So I messed up the drop pod by not bringing it on turn 1, but if I just bring that down on turn 1, put it on an objective.
You mean if you use that model to break the rule that everyone else in the army has to abide by?
Yeah. Still, if you put the transport,
that could be good.
Put the transport full of dudes on an objective, delete something. Even if you gotta kill a drop pod to get that objective.
Yeah, you gotta waste shooting on a
waste the drop pod.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So I feel like more armies, but like I said, especially non-power armor armies. You still can, and like I said, impulsors are still good in Marines. We'll have to focus on getting your fragile guys up the board and onto objectives to score points, because really you're going to need, you got to get to 45 in your primaries. I feel like, you got to get to 40-45. So you're going to have to get a 10-pointer, a 15-pointer in there. You're going to have to get a 15-pointer in there somewhere. So to kind of break the parity, or sometimes even get back to parity. So just the extra wounds in cheap transports to protect your guys is the most efficient way to do it, and I think it's what we're going to see as more tournaments evolve.
I definitely agree. In non-power armor armies, it's the way. The problem with transports is when people shift to it, they're very easy to handle because they usually don't have invulns.
People are already running 9 eradicators and some number of aggressors, which is a perfect two-punch combo to take out a transport and everybody inside.
Yeah, so just keep in mind, just because you're in a transport, you still have to play smart. You have to protect it because, there's a lot of powerful AP and high wounds or high damage stuff in the meta. So don't just park a transport necessarily on the front line. You still got to protect them. I do agree. Transports, if you're not playing power armor and you're not playing invulns like chaos or demons, what's how have terms?
I think chaos marines. I think chaos marines using transports is great.
Yeah, I think a rhino with chaos marines.
Even the Terramax drill,
they can put plague marines.
That definitely makes chaos marines, useful.
Yeah, I agree. Anything that can slingshot something, I definitely agree has the viability. Just remember that it doesn't have an invuln. They don't even have particularly good saves usually, right? They're usually 3 or 4 ups.
Unless you're the marine one.
Tank saves.
Yeah, they usually have 3 ups.
3 ups.
Usually T7, 3 ups.
You tried the impulsor with our veterans.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, they can get out after it. It's
and then give it a 4 from portal.
Yeah.
I haven't, because I want to use my points other places, but yeah, you probably should, if you're playing impulsors, have the 4 up and vulnerable.
You can put Ragnar and some assault intercessors in there.
Wasn't I think it was Mikey V talking about there's a transport where you can put the transport in, move it, they get out, shoot, and get back in the transport.
So that's fade.
Harlequins?
That's
You
fade.
can't- you
Fire
can't
and
move
fade.
it.
Yeah, you can't move it. They can get out, shoot, and get back in, but they have to have not moved. That's fire and
No.
fade. That's the
They don't have to have not moved. They
Yeah.
just they have to get out normally before the transport moves.
yeah. To get out of it, it has
Yeah.
to have not moved.
Actually, I don't think you can do that anymore.
A Dark Eldar has a stratagem to where they can get in a transport
I
after
think
they
it's a
shoot.
Harlequin strategy. If somebody has a stratagem,
Yeah.
it's
They can
Eldar,
shoot and
where they
then
consolidate towards it. If there's a transport within 3 inches, they consolidate towards it instead and get in it.
Okay.
That's how the fight.
Because you can only embark at the end of your movement phase. You can't do it in the shooting phase. That's
Right.
why they can't.
Well, Dark Eldar or
When they have a stratagem that says they can't.
yeah, Dark
Yeah,
Reapers
sometimes
can do that.
Yeah.
They have a stratagem for sure.
it's just a broken part of the rules. Where I mean, that seems
We
important.
spent like 3 hours
Yeah,
talking to
disgusting.
Goodhammer
I
about
thought-
this. So
I
I'm
thought
pretty
we-
sure it worked.
Yeah, Goodhammer says it worked.
Yeah, I don't know where you're coming from.
I couldn't remember. Oh well, it was kind of like
We spent like hours talking about this, and we're pretty sure you can fire fade and get in a transport.
In the same turn.
Anyway,
Doesn't even have to be the same transport. You can do like some transport tag. Get
Yeah,
guys out,
The
send
transport
that
can
one
move,
up, and then
get
have
out,
the second
shoot,
one come and
get
pick them
back
up.
in.
That's crazy. I didn't
Yeah.
know you could do
yeah.
that.
So like you can drop the guys off, run that one forward. The next one moves up to 12 inches or whatever, and they can shoot and get in.
They move there 7 inches.
That's really cool.
Well, you can do that with anything really, as long as this squad didn't move the end of movement. You move up, next one comes up and get in.
Well, no, because the end of movement is during shooting. Like you have to have something that lets you shoot and move.
but if you don't want to shoot,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, if you
you
don't
can
wanna
do that.
shoot,
If you
you
just
can
want to tag team up the board, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just run a transport into their lines or on an objective or whatever, but leave this group here to get in another one.
Yeah.
to
That's
protect
cool.
them.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, transports, we're in a single patrol or battalion meta.
Yeah.
So troop choices are so low and so high value that, yeah, you have to protect them at all costs. And it's like, do you want to spend a few CP to take more troops that are going to be slow, or do you just want to use that transport slot and save the CP? So, yeah, I mean, I agree.
Well,
I feel
for
like
me, like a squad of Vanguard veterans with plasmas is 120 points. I can take a transport for 100.
so it's just cheaper.
It's just cheaper, and like I get another unit, and it's more. It's T6 or yeah, it's T6, and it's got 12 wounds.
Yeah.
I get more for. I can put them in there, and I can get them out for free.
Yeah, no, that
and AdMech, but I mean, still, even if you lost just a couple in the explosion, it's not the end of the world. You know, you sucked up a bunch of firepower with this transport, and you moved your guys. You advanced their position.
I'd say most transports are playable. For sure. I've been playing, all my guard lists have Bulgrin to go in Chimeras. Bulgrin are hard to kill.
yeah.
And they're fast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
kill
been-
a Chimera and a bunch of Bulgrin out.
There's been talk of lots of Torax Prime in the Astra Militarum list.
Yeah.
That they're some people are playing either Torax or Torax Prime.
Yeah, Brandon Grant did a big thing on that.
Yeah, so don't underestimate just extra wounds. Just I think of it as like a sponge. It's a bullet sponge that moves your guys forward.
Yeah, transport's the thing is, it just got to get out of the 8th edition mindset. Like, it's literally the opposite with them. Like, you want less troops, more durable things, and ways to move quick. So, they kind of answer that question. Unless you're a Space Marine player, and then you probably have other options. Or if you have invulns, or like, do demons even have any form of transport? I don't think they do they?
We can
Warp time and do all kinds of.
we can't warp time. We can
Deep strike.
Just deep strike, yeah. That's what I thought. So, yeah. If it's available to your army, it's probably a viable option. Unless you're trying to do hordes. And if you're trying to do hordes, once again, please tell us, what are you playing?
Like, that might be back to the orc list. Like we saw that one guy, but just I think it's called the battle wagon. See, some people try that. You can do.
You can, it
it's
can be
kinda like
open
the
topped.
Yeah, it's open top. Like, open top's really cool. Like you
See-
can do it in Dark Eldar, but the guys you can put in it are pretty bad and expensive. So
But you could do the Venoms with the Harlequins.
Skyweavers.
you can do Venoms, but you don't care about what's in them.
Yeah,
What's the
Skyweavers
Venom's
are
actually
open
good.
top.
Is that the one with you put the plasma pistol guy?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Harlequins.
The only thing I can say bad about transports right now is like it does open you up to a secondary.
That is true.
If you have like four transports, like
That depends on the transport too. If it's over 10 wounds, then yes, you're giving up 3 points to
bring it down.
Yeah, but if it's under, which a lot of them are,
This is 2 points.
it's only 2
But it
points.
still can't be like you can't just be like, well, yeah, this is going to be it. They can move around. I'm going to take 4 transports. Like now, I just gave up 12.
You give up 8 points for
I mean-
small ones. Most of them are under 10, right?
I don't know.
Rhinos, what are rhinos?
Rhinos are 10, 8, 10 or 11.
they're
A lot of them are.
over.
A lot of them are like 10 to 12.
Yeah.
So like giving up,
They're right there.
even giving up 8 to 10 points on it. If you have like 2 over and 2 under, like you give up 10 points. We've discussed multiple times. That's the magic number.
yeah. That's above average on what I think you're going to expect on secondaries.
That is a very legitimate thought to go into your list build. Well done, Chet.
Thanks.
On that note,
Well,
I mean,
I was saying, personally, it's not something I consider because I'm ad making everything as a vehicle.
Everything's a vehicle anyway,
What,
but
might as well just jam all the vehicles in it.
yeah, I think transports are great in AdMax. They're basically. This
Well,
sounds like they're probably
well,
mandatory.
it's
And
something
they get like 10 shots.
12.
Oh, my bad.
Oh,
12.
excuse me.
Excuse me.
The like and guard, you get. They already have a bunch of Lehman Russes and vehicles and stuff, so
Yeah.
a few more like.
Well, Park and Bulgren, danger zone.
Yeah.
Bolgren are
Would you take the Chimera over the Valkyrie though? I love the Valkyrie. It's sweet.
I think the Chimeras you can load out with double heavy flamers for 95 points. I think you just do that. Keep them cheap.
Because even when the Bolgren get out, if they're not messing with them, you can go out and start trying to flamer stuff.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
It's just
Seems
a
good.
Knock off Hellhound.
But airdropping Bulgren just seems sweet to me. Big old dudes with clubs.
coming in hot.
Don't even need parachutes. They
They
sit
just use
around.
their shield as a parachute.
They do like the Iron Man landing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'd say that's about everything we got
I
this
think
week.
so.
All right. So my question for the week is, what is your favorite transport strategy, and has it been successful for you? So if you're using a transport that we didn't talk about, like how are you using the drill in AdMech, for example? If you're using it over the what are they called?
Dune Riders.
The Dune Riders, or if you're utilizing it in Death Guard, I'm sure Troy would love to hear how you're having success with it. Did you ever just park it and just slowly drill across the top of the table instead of like deep striking it? Like, does that work? Hit us up with that, and let's go ahead and do socials. Zach,
Mr. Fingerguns on Twitter.
Troy,
Viking Heart on Twitter.
Anvil,
At Evil Beard on Twitter.
Chad.
At Chad B. McKenzie, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, everything.
All right, and then I'm LLBR1NXLL on Twitter and BR1NXL on Twitch, and we are tacticalreserves@gmail.com. Right? We have the Discord and the Facebook page, Tactical Reserves. So if you want to show us your models to get that hobby motivation back, please put it up there. We will comment on it, I promise. I try to comment on most of that stuff, even though we go over it in the show.
Yeah, we want to see it all.
Yeah. So have a good week, y'all. We'll see you next week.